How embarrassing would it be if you invented the very foundation of what we consider a cell phone today, went on to own over 50% of the smartphone market, and not only got completely obliterated to nothing by some guy in a turtleneck, but had no one to blame but yourself? That's the main idea behind BlackBerry, which is a full-fledged comedy. It's like The Social Network meets The Office, and it's a movie that's flying way under the radar right now, despite getting rave reviews from both critics and audiences. And I think that's partially because it's coming out at a time where this like product biopic subgenre is very oversaturated. This year alone, we've already gotten Air, Tetris, Pinball, but I think this is the best one to come out so far this year by a country mile. And Air was good, but I feel like we can all agree it was a bit by the numbers. What makes BlackBerry so memorable is that it's not only really unique stylistically, which we'll get into, but it's not a feel-good story. It's the story of a bunch of idiots and a bunch of geniuses who were behind the real epic rise and epicer fall of BlackBerry. Particularly two of the founders, Mike Lazaridis and Doug Freegan, who are played by Jay Baruchel and the director himself, Matt Johnson, respectively, and the golden god Glenn Howerton as Jim Balsillie, the businessman who stepped in and was part of actually bringing the BlackBerry to the market, and who here is portrayed as an all-out volatile sociopath. Who here had a BlackBerry? I think my first phone was like the Samsung Intensity. You're gonna hear this movie compared a lot to The Social Network. It's very similar in story, a company growing, other people coming in, backstabbing, illegal activity, and I think those comparisons are very earned, but Matt Johnson is also going for something very different here, basically creating a caricature of something like The Social Network. It's not going for a profound screenplay or character study, but more exaggerating everything for comedic effect. I don't know if in real life Jim Balsillie actually threatened a whole conference room of people saying, "I'm from Waterloo where the vampires hang out," but I kind of hope he did because that line is really iconic. So the style and tone is at the forefront of this, especially because Matt Johnson shoots it handheld, I want to say the entire time, but I'm not totally positive, but it gives it that reality show, like inherently comedic vibe. I was reminded of The Office, Nathan For You, SNL. I've heard a lot of people say that they thought the trailer looked like SNL in a derogatory way, and I honestly don't think the trailer was great or did it justice, but when I say SNL, in the movie, it's like good SNL, back in the good old days. And it's not like The Office in the way that there are like interviews or anyone is acknowledging the camera, but you've got the camera zooms, the side conversations, kind of filming a scene from outside of an office, focusing on one person's reaction. It's done so well and coupled with great editing, so it heightens both sides of this. You get the cutthroat business moments, but you also get the nerdy tech moments. I mean, it's like a tech thriller, and it makes the jargon and conceptual side of that really easy to understand. Things like how they switched to data, how many phones you can have on a network and why, stock prices, market shares. I have very limited knowledge of all of that, and I found it to be not only accessible but really engaging, and it helps because Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsillie act as proxies for the opposite end of the business. With Glenn Howerton, it's especially funny because he has no idea what is going on with the tech side of things and is so blindly arrogant that he'll just bullshit his way through whatever meeting and to somehow get by, until he doesn't. There's been a lot of talk about Glenn Howerton's performance, even conversations about like best supporting actor at the Oscars, and I'm like, don't be rash. But man, he is so good. We missed some sort of opportunity not having him play Reed Richards because he does asshole so well that it's almost concerning. And with this freedom of exaggeration, he's really able to ham it up. He's screaming, swearing, breaking shit. He takes every single opportunity to choose scenery, and it's so much fun to watch. So I do think this is an award-worthy performance. In the ideal world, maybe he would get nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I also thought Jay Baruchel was just as good. He's such an underrated performer, and here he transitions really well from being this socially awkward genius to being a bit corrupted by where the business goes. And that's actually where Matt Johnson's best moments come in as Doug, the best friend who's also a founder, and who's also very smart, but also pretty irresponsible. He's portrayed from the beginning as the one who kind of can bring things down and spends too much time watching movies, playing pinball, whatever. But as things progress, Johnson challenges you to see the value that a personality like his brings to the company, and his dynamic with Mike is really interesting. I also just loved watching this particular brand of nerdiness from the 90s, which I was not alive for, but my t-shirt collection and Doug's are extremely similar. I saw him wearing Army of Darkness, They Live, The Thing. They had a Point Break poster on the wall. There are so many fun little Easter eggs with the movies they're watching, the computer games they're playing. It was awesome. This is definitely a movie made by a film lover. I did have a couple tiny little issues. There are some time jumps that can make the narrative feel a bit disjointed, and they bring about some big changes changes in character behavior that I thought could have been a little smoother or been given more context. There's also a significant aspect about work culture that kind of ties into what I said about Doug. It's shown that their original BlackBerry team goofs off a lot, and there's an effort as the company grows to crack down on that. And there's a line after that where Doug says something like, "Why do you think these people work 80 hours a week and barely see their families?" And I just feel like that would have hit so much harder if we had actually seen that side of the culture. But for the most part, we're showing them fucking around and then pulling the occasional all-nighter because they have to make a prototype. And that repeats a couple of times. So though I really liked the sentiment of that, I thought it could have been fleshed out a little bit better. But those are all the nitpicks I really care to mention. Again, I don't think this was trying to be something profound, but it also manages to work in a lot of interesting things about work culture and the consequences of good enough, and things that tie into why BlackBerry failed, because ultimately they couldn't keep up with the times. And then Matt Johnson made it so original and engaging and hilarious because of the humor and the way he shoots it. This movie was also made for, I think, $5 million, which is like mind-blowing. It also has a great score. Again, all the performances are great. I just think this is a special film, and it's like a guaranteed good time. So I'm going to give BlackBerry 4 out of 5 stars. That might be too low, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see it again, but it's out in theaters now. I've been getting feedback from people that they're having a hard time finding showings. I personally had to see it at the Alamo Drafthouse. Shout out Alamo Drafthouse. Not had to, I love the Alamo, but it wasn't playing at AMC. So hopefully it'll continue to expand, but even if it doesn't, please put it on your list even for when it comes out on streaming. It's currently ranked my 6th film of the year out of 50 that I've seen. And I can't wait to check out more of Matt Johnson's work. I was surprised by how many people on my TikTok review were not only familiar with his work, but were championing it so hard. So that should be fun, but let me know if you plan on seeking this one out, guys. If you already saw BlackBerry, let me know what you thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.